Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. So, welcome back to another reading and speaking lesson with me today. Yes, so today again I have brought a read aloud session for all of you. Now, read alouds are very important in order to improve your English speaking skills and pronunciation. If you want to improve your fluency, the way you speak English, with the flow that you speak English, if you want to improve that, definitely read aloud is very important. And I often bring these read aloud sessions for all of you that you love a lot. And it's been a while, we haven't done a read aloud session in a while. So today again, I have brought a read aloud session for all of you with one of my favorite novels, that's the Jane Eyre. Now, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, it's a classic. It's a classic. And Jane Eyre is something that is considered to be the starting of supernatural, gothicness. Although it was considered as a romance in its time, but this is just not romance. It's actually feminism, romance, drama, gothic, Bildungsroman wrapped into one novel. Now, what is Bildungsroman? Oh my god, I'm using certain terms here. Bildungsromans is basically a genre of novel where a person's journey to attain some kind of adulthood, the maturity, the psychological maturity, when a person attains some character development and some psychological maturity about life in general, that's called Bildungsroman. So this is a great novel to read, and today I'm going to read aloud this novel for all of you. Are you ready for this? Well, I'm Shivangi Gupta, your CELTA certified English language tutor, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK, and you're watching Speak English with Shivangi. Before beginning, please subscribe the channel so that you don't miss out on any lesson that I post on the channel for you. You get one video lesson every day on the channel. Like the video, share it with your friends too. Coming back to today's read aloud lesson. So what you have to do is you have to listen to me carefully. And when I read the novel, pay attention to the way I'm speaking, how I'm reading it out loud. So this is going to be a great listening practice for you and speaking practice too. Once I'm done with the lesson, done with the reading, what you can do is you can rewind the speaking section and then you can probably speak with me, a kind of shadow kind of thing. So it's reading and speaking, read aloud. And apply whatever I'm reading in this lesson to the read aloud sessions you are having yourself. When you read aloud something, try to read aloud in the way I am reading aloud this particular novel for you. Okay, let's begin with Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So I'm going to read chapter number 5 for you. If you want to read along with me, if you've got the novel, chapter number 5. Please turn to chapter number 5 of Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now let's begin with the read aloud. Listen to me very carefully because this is going to be really important for your speaking skills and your fluency. Also pay attention to the pronunciation because read aloud is important for that. Okay, let's begin now. 5 o'clock had hardly struck on the morning of the 19th of January when Busy brought a candle into my closet and found me already up and nearly dressed. I had risen half an hour before her entrance and had washed my face and put on my clothes by the light of half moon just setting, whose rays streamed through the narrow window near my crib. I was to leave Gateshead that day by a coach which passed the lodge gates at 6 a.m. Busy was the only person yet risen. She had lit a fire in the nursery, where she now proceeded to make my breakfast. Few children can eat when excited with thoughts of a journey, nor could I. Busy, having pressed me in vain to take a few spoonfuls of the boiled milk and bread she had prepared for me, wrapped up some biscuits in a paper and put them into my bag. Then she helped me on with my pelisse and bonnet, and rubbing herself in a shawl, she and I left the nursery. As we passed Mrs. Reed's bedroom, she said, Will you go in and bid Mrs. goodbye? No, Bessie. She came to my crib last night when you were gone down to supper, and said I need not disturb her in the morning, or my cousins either. And she told me to remember that she had always been my best friend, and to speak of her and be grateful to her accordingly. What did you say, miss? Nothing. I covered my face with the bedclothes and turned from her to the wall. That was wrong, Miss Jane. It was quite right, Bessie. Your missus has not been my friend. She has been my foe. Foe. Foe is another term for enemy. So she's saying that she has not been a friend of any kind. She has been a foe all along. That is enemy. Oh, Miss Jane, don't say so. Goodbye to Gateshead, cried I as we passed through the hall and went out at the front door. The moon was set and it was very dark. Bessie carried a lantern whose light glanced on wet steps and gravel road sodden by a recent thaw. So thaw is basically when the snow melts and the land is wet. You can see that it's wet, it's glistening. That is thaw. Raw and chill was the winter morning. My teeth chattered as I hastened down the drive. So it was so cold that the protagonist, Jane's teeth, they were chattering. We found the potter's wife just kindling her fire. My trunk, which had been carried down the evening before, stood corded at the door. It wanted but a few minutes of 6, and shortly after that hour had struck, the distant roll of wheels announced the coming coach. Is she going by herself? Asked the potter's wife. Yes. And how far is it? 50 miles. What a long way! I wonder Mrs. Reed is not afraid to trust her so far alone. The coach drew up. There it was at the gates with its 4 horses and its top laden with passengers. The guard and coachman loudly urged haste. My trunk was hoisted up. I was taken from Bessie's neck, to which I clung with kisses. Be sure and take good care of her, cried she to the guard, as he lifted me into the inside. Aye, aye, was the answer. The door was slapped to. A voice exclaimed, All right, and we drove. Thus was I severed from Bessie and Gateshead, thus whirled away to unknown, and as I then deemed remote and mysterious regions. I remember but little of the journey. I only know that the day seemed to me of a preternatural length, and that we appeared to travel over hundreds of miles of road. We passed through several towns, and in one, a very large one, the coach stopped. The horses were taken out, and the passengers alighted to dine. I was carried into an inn where the guards wanted me to have some dinner. But as I had no appetite, he left me in an immense room with a fireplace at each end, a chandelier pendant from the ceiling. A chandelier pendant from the ceiling means hanging from the ceiling. Just like a pendant hanging from the neck, because at that time, pendants used to be of diamonds. So she's comparing the beauty of chandelier to a pendant. Let's move forward. A little red gallery high up against the wall filled with musical instruments. Here I walked about for a long time, feeling very strange and mortally apprehensive of someone coming in and kidnapping me. At last the guard returned. Once more I was stowed away in the coach. My protector mounted his own seat, sounded his hollow horn, and away we rattled over the stony street of. Now, that's not given. Stony street of. That's a mystery here. The afternoon came on wet and somewhat misty. As it waned into dusk, I began to feel that we were getting very far indeed from Gateshead. We ceased to pass through towns. The country changed. Great grey hills heaved up round the horizon. As twilight deepened, we descended a valley, dark with wood, and long after night had overclouded the prospect, I heard a wild wind rushing amongst the trees. Okay, so that's the end of the reading session for today. So this was the one chapter that I've read for you, not completely. If you want, you can go and check out the particular novel Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and let me tell you, it actually has been adapted into a movie too. So you can go watch the movie instead on Netflix. That's available for you. If you want to know about the story, what's going to happen next, you can go and watch Jane Eyre on Netflix. Okay, so that's the end of the reading session, the read aloud session. So when you read aloud, it improves your fluency. And look, what is happening is you are reading some sentences that are there for you. So when you read, read with the expressions, read the way I was reading, and then you can also speak along with me if you want to. I'll meet you in the next lesson now. Till then, everybody, take care and bye.